I'm ready. I always love Diego's segments, and Diego's back from holiday to share some really fascinating stuff. Welcome back, Diego. How are you doing?
Hello, Jason. Hello, Anthony. And hello, world. I'm doing good. I'm here in my office in Seattle, Washington, surrounded by these walls that I've been building for about 20 years. And they have a lot of things that I want to remember, you know. And today I wanted to talk to you about emotional equations. And what do I mean by that? I've been talking in the last few shows about the importance of emotional intelligence. You know, in the tech industry, you need to know your tech stuff, but I would say the number one important skill in 2021 is your emotional intelligence. Without it, you won't be able to have the impact that you may want to have. So I struggle with this because I study computer science. I'm a hard fan of science, of hard science. I love astronomy and math and physics, and the emotional stuff was hard for me. But then this guy came along called Chip Conley, and he developed something he calls emotional equations. And he actually published a book about it. And I kept that post on the wall. You can see it right here since then. These right here are the emotional equations. And what he tried to do, Chip, is he tried to express what our emotions are made of in mathematical formulas. Now, these are not really like scientifically rigorous. You can't really do a lot of operations with them. They're supposed to just be thought-provoking, but I found them really good. So today I wanted to share a few of them with you. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do. This is amazing stuff. What do you got for us?
On the screen. Let's see. We can do this, and then I can play like this. I can do
hide and seek.
Now you see me, now you don't. So here's the thing. I want to share 4 of them. So the first one, very simple, right here. It says despair equals suffering minus meaning. So we all have suffering in life, but if you develop a sense of meaning, you can actually detract from suffering. And then your despair gets lower. Your sense of hope gets higher. This is something that Viktor Frankl showed in his book, The Man's Search for Meaning. There is no inherent meaning in our lives, so we have to manufacture our own meaning, and all our meanings can be different. And when we do that, we actually subtract from suffering. When you have a sense of meaning, you can put up with a lot of suffering, and that lowers your despair. So that's how formulas one. Let's put them up. I'm going to show you another one because I want to show you how each formula has 2 components. So here, disappointments equal expectations minus reality. So many times our expectation, our reality does not match our expectation, and our reality sucks sometimes, and we can be very disappointed. But disappointment has nothing to do with bad reality. Disappointment is the gap between expectations and reality. So you can play always with the 2 factors in the formula. You can improve your reality and achieve more and get what you want, and then you'll be less disappointed. Or if that's not possible, you can lower your expectations. Because I once heard this quote in Argentina where I grew up saying that the richest person is not the one that has the most, but the one that needs the least. So that's the one about disappointment. So now they get a bit more complicated. Let's show one more right here. Let's put them on the screen, and I can play peekaboo like this. So here's another one that says, for example, anxiety, the big A. Look, we all suffer from anxiety because we're human beings. And human beings think about the future and the past and all that stuff. So anxiety equals uncertainty multiplied by powerlessness. So again, two components. When we face uncertainty, that generates anxiety. But when you're trying to innovate, when you're trying to do amazing things in the world, you will have a lot of unknowns. So you will have uncertainty, and that will generate anxiety. But you can multiply it by powerlessness. And if that powerlessness is low, meaning your sense of empowerment is high, then you will actually lower your anxiety. And this reminds me of a study that was made with rats. It was a pretty cruel study when they put 2 rats on side-by-side cages, and they would get random electroshocks throughout the day. The same shock, and they would start and stop at the same time. The only difference is that one of the rats had access to a lever, and when the rat pulled the lever down, the shocks would stop. So same shock, same durations, but one of the rats had control to make it stop. And then they measured the body markers for levels of anxiety, and the rat that had no power, that was powerless, had a much higher level of anxiety. So again, you can play with you can reduce uncertainty, but if you need to face uncertainty, then you can reduce your powerlessness. Am I making any sense so far?
Yeah, as always, you're kind of blowing me away with all of this stuff, Diego. And I just have to say, I have to appreciate you not only sharing these types of things, but also you being sort of a leader in this show, at least on Mondays, of being vulnerable and showing these types of important ideas and sharing different things that, as you mentioned, are only, our skills around technology and coming from computer science backgrounds, all that thing's great, but you have to have the other side of the coin too. And these are the parts that I think a lot of times don't really make it into our thinking when we're talking about our career. So thank you for sharing this type of stuff.
Yeah, talking about vulnerability, here's the line. If you put it one last time, this one is huge. Authenticity, you can see here, if you put them out, equals authenticity equals self-awareness multiplied by courage. So we got to know ourselves. That's self-awareness. But once we know ourselves, who we are, what do we want, what do we stand for, we have to have the courage to go out and stand for those things, to show us who we are. We try to be perfect. We try to show ourselves perfect, but that's not what people want. People do not want to follow a perfect leader. They want to follow a real leader, a real human being. So vulnerability helps. So call to action, please watch Chip Conley's TED Talk. He gave 3. This one's called Measuring What Makes Life Worthwhile. A really good TED Talk, one of my top 3 TED Talks. Then he did one called Becoming a Modern Elder. For those of you who are in your second half of your life, who have some white beard coming up, there is hope of becoming a modern elder. And we have a lot to give with these wise people that comes with age. So watch those TED Talks, build that courage to be authentic, and I have more for you on Friday.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Diego, for sharing. We'll try to drop a lot of that stuff into our show notes.